It is so wonderful to be with you virtually in this blessed moment. I'm imagining all your faces sitting in the pews here. I want to begin by sharing that a parishioner sent a link to a blog from the On Being NPR show called Poetry Unbound. And I was wooed by the Irish accent of Padraig Tuma, the host, and listening to a poem by Ross Gay that we'll play for you now so you can hear that and be wooed as well, called Ode to Buttoning and Unbuttoning My Shirt. So let's give a listen. You can either read the words or close your eyes and just listen to the words.
Ross Gay's poem, Ode to Buttoning and Unbuttoning My Shirt, read by Padraig Tuma.
No one knew, or at least I didn't know they knew, what the thin discs threaded here on my shirt might give me in terms of joy. This is not something to be taken lightly. The gift of buttoning one's shirt slowly, top to bottom, or bottom to top, or sometimes the buttons will be on the other side, and I am a woman that morning, slipping the glass through its slot. I tread differently that day, or some of it anyway. My conversations are different, and the car bomb slicing the air, and the people in it for a quarter mile, and the honeybee's legs furred with pollen mean another thing to me than on the other days which too have been drizzled in this simplest of joys. In this world of spaceships and subatomic this and that, 2, maybe 3 times a day some days, I have the distinct pleasure of slowly untethering the one side from the other, which is like unbuckling a stack of vertebrae with delicacy, for I must only use the tips of my fingers, with which I will one day close my mother's eyes. This is as delicate as we can be in this life. Practicing like this, giving the raft of our hands to the clumsy spider and blowing soft until she lifts her damp heft and crawls off. We practice like this, pushing the seed into the earth like this. First in the morning, then at night, we practice sliding the bones home.
The poet knows something about death and joy in the details of life. It's literally a wonderful poem, full of wonder in life's details, full of joy, we might say an Easter joy, about the miracle of life and love and the details of movement, how we live and move and have our being in this world, with the smallest of details. The miracle of the human hand, quote, my fingers with which I will one day close my mother's eyes, this as delicate as we can be in this life, practicing like this, sliding the bones home. This poem comes from Ross Gay's book, Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. Gratitude is so crucial for our souls. And I was filled with gratitude a week and a half ago. I had a Holy Week before Holy Week because my youngest daughter, Larkin Rose, called me, said, Dad, come here, called me to her bedroom to see something. She's been sequestered in the house like all of us, this beautiful, extremely social creature, and she was keeping herself connected by looking over the old family Video 8 camcorder tapes, movies, most of which she didn't appear in, being the youngest of 3, the proverbial less documented child. But what was documented, what she called me into the room to see, was the source of my gratitude, a tape of my mother, Larkin's grandmother, filmed by my wife, speaking at St. Mark's Lenten series in 1997, March 19, 1997, to be exact. We were having speakers share stories bouncing off C.S. Lewis's book, A Grief Observed, talking about their life and their own grief at times and their own faith moving through that grief. And my mother talked about my little brother Dennis, who died of AIDS 5 years earlier to the day, March 19th, 1992. A pandemic AIDS affecting only certain sections of the population, but fatal for all before certain medications were developed. Too late for my brother. But listening and watching this tape, watching my mother, she died in 2004, was so moving and illuminating. I've had spiritual conversations, imagined conversations, if you will, with my mother over the years, but I hadn't heard her voice in a very long time. And I was viscerally reminded of her love, her presence, her powerful, natural compassion. She really was full of love, and I was reminded of that, seeing her sitting there in the parish hall many years ago, sharing her life with the community, despite the hardships in her life, despite an alcoholic father, abusive father, despite 8 children, despite losing some to death. All that she overcame because of the love she carried, the love of family, children, of life itself. When she shared, in the parish hall, she talked about being sad about leaving Ohio to come here because she had planted flowers earlier and they were just starting to come up in March, and she thought she was going to miss her flowers that she was waiting for in the winter cold. And when she got here, she realized that here California was in full bloom, and so she said, "Your flowers are more beautiful than mine." But I was reminded of her devotion to relationships, how she connected and cared about people. Well, all the McDermott boys, 7 of us, had various girlfriends and breakups. And the girlfriends stayed away from the boys after the breakup, but they came to visit my mother all the time. But watching this tape was a salvation. And I mean that in the literal sense. It was a balm. It was a healing for me. This is my mother, the one who taught me how to love, my mentor, my teacher. And so, in a way, I felt like Mary Magdalene in today's Easter Gospel, meeting the gardener outside the tomb, and the gardener calling her name, Mary. And she recognizes the voice of Jesus, the visceral presence of Jesus, the one who taught her about love, the one who taught her to love. Rabboni, she said, teacher. So watching the tape of my mother, I felt I was with my teacher again, the woman who taught me to love, talking with so much compassion about my brother growing up gay in Ohio, coming out of the closet in the 70s and dying in the 90s, and his own brave death, his own brave life, his own faith, his faith and love, quote, more glorious than we can imagine, end quote, my mother said, this eternal love. So I'm like Mary in this moment right now, running to the disciples to say, I have seen the Lord, because I have seen love, the reality of joy, the reality of eternity. In people I have loved, and in people I love still. At the end of my mother's presentation, she spoke about Dennis dying and his belief in the afterlife, in that eternal love, and she shared a story she said, oh, I just almost forgot. She grabbed a book by Henry Nouwen, something about our greatest gift. It's a meditation on death that comforted her, obviously, over the years. And she shared a story about two twins speaking to one another in their mother's womb. And I'd forgotten completely about the story. So I want to share this with you as a twin who shared my mother's womb. A sister said to her brother, I believe that there is life after birth. Her brother protested vehemently, no, this is all there is. This is a dark, cozy place, and we have nothing else to do but cling to the cord that feeds us. The little girl insisted, there must be something more than this dark place, something beyond the dark, a place where there is more freedom to move. But she still could not convince her twin. After some silence, the sister said hesitantly, I have something else to say, but I'm afraid you won't believe that either. But I think there is a mother. Her brother became furious. A mother, he shouted. I have never seen a mother, and neither have you. Who put that idea in your head? As I told you, this place is all we have. Why do you always want more? This is not such a bad place. After all, we have all we need. So let's be content. His sister was quiet, overwhelmed by her brother's response, and for a while didn't dare say anything more. But she couldn't let go of her thoughts, and since she had only her twin brother to speak to, she finally said, don't you feel those squeezes every once in a while? They are quite unpleasant and sometimes even painful. Yes, he answered. What's special about that? Well, the sister said, I think these squeezes are there to let us get ready for another place, much more beautiful than this, where we will see our mother face to face. And don't you think that's exciting? The brother didn't answer. He was fed up with this foolish talk from his sister and felt that the best thing to do was simply to ignore her and hope that she would leave him alone. Are you fed up with foolish talk? Or do you believe? Do you trust? Do you hope in something more? In the fact that death is a blessed passage, as Nouwen calls it, a passage through the pain to the mysterious transition to a new life, a resurrected life in this new mysterious realm. This is Easter. This is Easter hope. No less real in the midst of a pandemic that affects every one of us. We are all connected. We all know fear. We all know joy. Even when we are separated from one another, we can still share our love. We are all on this journey together. May we learn from Jesus, the teacher, whose love rises again and again and again. Can we learn to embody this love using our beautiful, amazing hands, little miracles of design? So as we wash our hands these days to protect them, let us use them as well to take a risk, to use them in the details of life, to love. Doing what we can to make right what is wrong, doing what we can that is good, opposing all that tears us apart. To close ourselves off like buttoning a shirt from all that keeps us from trusting and hoping, and to open us up like unbuttoning a shirt to joy, to forgiveness, to compassion, to a divine inspired strength, to an Easter joy, to love and to gratitude. In the name of the risen Christ, may it be so.